Hi there. This video is all about your brilliant children, especially for those parents and educators of nonverbal, so-called severely autistic individuals. This is a video about intelligence. I am Dr. Andrea Labuti. I'm a physician and author, and more importantly, the mother of 3 boys, and my oldest has autism. And I am here to change what the world believes about autism. I'm here to change the status quo. I'm here to change the way parents and educators interact with individuals with autism. Why? Because there is an enormous amount of potential that is totally undiscovered in this population. And it's time that these kids had a voice and a chance to become the very best that they are here to be. In this video, you will learn why communication is so critical to understanding the intellect of your child. And I will give you 2 action items, 2 things that you can do now to begin the process of communicating with your child. I'm going to start with 3 stories of 3 friends of mine. Now, all 3 of these young men are nonverbal and by society standards would be considered low functioning. They appear severely autistic. So the first one is my friend João. You may have heard about him. He is my 22-year-old friend who lives in Portugal. He began writing me letters one day. His mother and I had become friends after she read my book. She wrote to me one day and said, "Listen, I'm not writing to you today. My son João is writing to you." And what he said was he's been receiving messages that he and I need to join hands, that we need to change this paradigm of autism. Now, what João writes about is well beyond his years. But if you understand autism from his viewpoint, which is an exquisitely sensitive individual, what he describes as having this big giant antenna that picks up on everything around him, he taps into information and knowledge, the energy around him, and has some really profound, amazing insights. Now, João has 2 published books in Portugal. His most recent just came out this week, and they are mind-blowing accounts of his perspectives on the world, on humanity, on things like politics, education, society. Really, really interesting information. So that's my friend João. The second person I want to tell you about is an 18-year-old. I'm not going to use his name just to protect his privacy. But the second is an 18-year-old. Now, this 18-year-old, 2 years ago when he was 16, was having horrific behavioral problems in school. He was in a regular public school in a special ed classroom. He started becoming more frustrated, more aggressive, more violent, to the point where the school was telling his parents he's going to need to be institutionalized. The worst words that we can hear as parents, right? Well, the parents, rather than do that, started just trying to figure out what they could do to help their son. And what they discovered was something called RPM, or Rapid Prompting Method. Now, for those of you who don't know about it, a woman named Soma, that's her first name, mother to an autistic boy from India, developed this communication system, basically, that puts a letterboard in front of the autistic person, gives them a pencil or their finger, and they start pointing to the letters to spell out words. Now, at first glance, a lot of people are like, oh, that's the facilitator moving the hand, but undeniably, when these kids get really good at it and then they start typing on their own, undeniably, all of this information is coming from them. So my girlfriend, who had this boy, who is now 18, discovered RPM. And what she found out about her son when she started really getting into RPM with him was that he is witty, that he's clever, that he is so brilliant. Now, the changes in her son, once she opened the door to communication with him, were so profound that she had to share it with the school district. And lo and behold, this mom brought RPM into her son's school district. Now, fast forward 2 years, and her son is taking regular education courses, so New York State high school curriculum. He's using this communication method, this teach-ask method, to show what he knows, and he is consistently getting 90% or higher on curriculum materials and exams. In fact, he just got a 96% on the latest midterm. So what on earth would have happened to this boy had his parents not gone out on a limb and tried to do something that to some people looks really radical? Okay, so now let's talk about the third one that I want to talk about. He is a 16-year-old boy. Now, I've known this boy for 6 years. I had a private practice, and he used to come to me when he was 10 years old with his mom, and we were doing a lot of IV nutritional therapy, so I'd see him every week. And again, nonverbal, would just run around the room, seemingly not knowing what's going on. But he would come up to me and he would pop his face in my face and he'd look in my eyes, and I would always laugh and say, Alex, I know you're in there. Sorry, I said his name. And the mom would say, I believe he is, but we never really could get in there. So a few months ago, now I haven't had a private practice for some time, but a few months ago, the mom, I've stayed friends with her, called me and she said, Andy, my son reads minds. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? So she went on to describe how she had started RPM with her son. They'd been doing it for about a year. And one day she was at her house and her son was pacing around really uncomfortable, really nervous. And so she said, let's go in the kitchen and let's get the letterboard out and let me find out what's going on with him. So she asked him, what's the matter? And what he said was, now there was a friend of her husband's visiting. And what he said was, that man is bad. That man thinks I'm bad. And she was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And he went on to describe how this man thinks that because he is autistic, he's bad, he doesn't have any value, he's just a big strain, like really horrible negative things. And the mom was like, well, how do you know this? And he said, I read minds. Now, I know that's a stretch for a lot of people, but there's actually research that is being done. Diane Hennacy Powell, a psychiatrist, an MD, has been doing telepathy research on autistic individuals, and the results are astonishing. So there is science behind it too, but this is just a friend of mine who said, look, this is happening. So let's think about this. What would happen to these three kids had their moms and dads not decided to go out on a limb, try something radical, and find a way to communicate? Would these three boys be in an institution? Would their frustrations and their aggression have just escalated to the point where they couldn't interact in society? Yeah, it's possible. And, it would really, really be a tragedy. So that's why I'm doing this video. That's why we're talking about this today. So I have 2 action items for you guys to do right now. Number 1, find a way to communicate with your child. Now, if you have a nonverbal or minimally verbal child, the number 1 hands down way that you can get in, like really get in, is through rapid prompting method. Now, it's easy enough to figure out, if there's an RPM facilitator in your area. If not, you can go ahead and learn to do the process yourself. Google Soma, S-O-M-A, and RPM, or rapid prompting method, and you'll get a slew of information. She has wonderful books written on the topics of RPM, and they're easy to read, and they will really shed light on how to connect with your child. And as far as age goes, I want to comment about age, because when I was younger, when my child was younger, about 12 years ago, all of the conferences I went to, there was like this edge of, oh my gosh, if my child isn't, recovered by the time he's 5, we'll never get in. Well, that is just bull cocky. So just throw those ideas out. I remember about a year and a half ago, I was at a TACA conference. It was an autism conference, and I had spoke at the conference, and there was a mom that came up and spoke as well. Now, she had spoken about her 19-year-old who was nonverbal, that had just learned how to do RPM a few months earlier. And she was astonished because she had no idea. Did he know how to do math? Did he know how to spell? Like, she literally did not know anything about what was in her son's head. And at 19 years old, after starting RPM, all the floodgates opened. And it was like there was a highly intelligent person trapped inside this autistic body. So please keep in mind, it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside, because it doesn't match what's on the inside. All right, so that's action item number 1. Item number 2, you can begin this immediately. Start talking to your children as if they understand and know everything. If I had been treating my child like he didn't really understand or know what was going on, and I've been talking about him in front of him, thinking he's not listening, oh, that couldn't be farther from the truth. So start with, listen, honey, I'm really sorry, but apparently I've been very wrong about what's going on in that beautiful head of yours. And I would just start the conversation that way and just say, look, I didn't know, but I am dedicated and here for you. And we are going to figure out a way that we can get all of your thoughts and ideas out so we can build a life together that will be really meaningful. So listen, folks, there's a lot of great possibilities here. A lot of good things can happen. I'm so glad you're here. Please listen to these series of videos. Go to my website, AndreaLabuti.com. Check out my book, Awakened by Autism. It's available on Amazon. I'm here for you. I want to turn this around. I know we can do it. There's so much at stake here, and we can do it. Thanks for being here. Have a great day.